In a market that's well saturated with Chinese EVs today, and if you're bringing in a new Chinese EV, how do you make your product stand out? Well, perhaps one way is to make it as enticing an offer as possible. And today, this is possibly the one that we're looking at. This is a GAC Aion Y Plus, and will it be enticing enough for you to buy it? Let's find out. The Aion Y Plus is priced from $151,000 to $161,000. The single electric motor produces 134 brake horsepower and 225 Newton meters of torque. The single-speed transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km per hour in 9.8 seconds. The 63.2 kWh battery provides a drive range of up to 430 km. For more details on the Aion Y Plus or any other car, head on to Sgcarmart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. Now, the first thing in the front that catches your eyes are going to be these huge angel wing LED headlights. In a time where everyone's doing a single line headlight, they're going hard with this angel wing setup, and it is instantly recognizable, you can tell. And then the second thing that's going to catch your eye is probably this logo. Well, this is the GAC logo, so it tells you that this car is from that group. Now, the rest of the front is very inoffensive, very flowy, hardly any creases. The rest of the car, probably for the sake of aerodynamics, is very smooth. You're not going to notice a front grille because, of course, this is an EV, and then a little two-tone splitter down below. Now, onto the side. Now, moving down the rest of the car, you're going to get 360 camera. Well, they call it 540, so 540 camera housing right here, a very nice two-tone color split, and hide-away handles. And then the rest of the car starts getting a little bit tacky with this little design cue right here and these black slits. Now, onto the rear. Now, over by the rear, you're gonna get that single line tail light that is so trendy nowadays. GAC logo, Aion Y, and GAC stands for something auto company, I can't remember. Open up the power tailgate is standard in this to 405 liters worth of boot space. Power tailgate, if that's not impressive enough, 405 liters worth of boot space, and a variable boot floor with a tonneau cover. Probably a tire repair kit underneath, right? No, it's a whole spare tire, so if that's your thing, this is rather impressive, especially considering that it is a 63.2 kWh battery, so they're not stuffing it there. So you still get space for a spare tire and a tonneau cover, and then you can if you want to knock down the rear seats, you can do so from here. So things are just very, very useful. Oh, and it won't pass the anti-trolley length test, not by a long shot. But never mind, you can always put your anti-trolley with full of gold bars underneath the tonneau cover, so you're ace. Now, over by the rear of the Aion Y Plus, this is probably one of the biggest party tricks. Just check this out. This insane panoramic sunroof. It's not just simulating a lot of space, it really is a whole ton of space. You can literally just walk through the car. So this is an insane amount of space. In the rear seat, 1.75 meters tall. Keep in mind your battery is underneath. So 1.75 meters tall, this is my head space. Extended, of course, by the openable sunroof. And then, of course, plenty of leg space. And then in the cabin also, you get a nice grey interior up top. And I believe there are a few colors to choose from. And then over here, you still get some soft touch material right here. So it's not like things are forgotten about. Things feel very, very thoughtful. Some nice little design touches right here. It's not like just plastic everywhere. And then very, very comfortable. So for 5, I think long distances is no problem in this MPV. Now, if there's nobody in the middle, you can pull this down for an armrest with some nice little cup holders. If you need 5 people, you can shift onto the middle with a flat boot floor. So check that out. Things are very, very comfortable. It's just a mobile room. And then you have, very important in our climate, rear aircon, and it has nice accented color to match the rest of the upholstery. So it's a very nice touch. But for charging, you're only going to get one single USB-A, and then you're also going to get magazine holders right here, which is a nice full leather. Now, if cinema movie dates are your thing, then the Aion Y Plus is basically a mobile cinema. Just check it out. And in this layout, you can stretch out your legs. I'm 1.75 meters tall, so my here is 1.8 plus. You can watch your movies up here. It's an EV, so you don't have to have any troubles running your engine. You can enjoy the aircon, play a movie up there, and even stargaze in this configuration. Now, over in the driver's side, you're gonna get this entry assist. So
ingress and egress is made even easier. This is a pretty typical steering wheel, however it's flat bottom and it has a very nice accented color with the rest of the car. I believe this color is called Fairyland. It's that Chinese thing where they give very nice and fancy names. Other than that, Aion right here, you're gonna get a digital instrument cluster. So I'll touch more on that later, where you can get a dial or you can see the lane markings and the cars around you. And then over here is a very huge screen. You can select your ambient lighting, all of these colors available within the cabin. And then there's a million things to control inside here. So your fan speed, this I have to say is one of the strongest air cons that I felt. Even when we received the car, it was at 26 degrees, and on fan speed 1, it really is quite strong. Like, that's kind of a little issue because you kind of either fan speed 1 or 0, turning it off. So you can't really go, because it's so strong, you can't get a lesser fan speed if you catch my drift. Now there's also a million things that you can control inside here. Sunroof, sunshade, even the mirror controls, kind of like a Tesla, you have to set inside here within the app. So your left rear view mirror and right rear view mirror, and then you toggle the direction that you want from here. Now for the rest of the car, this doesn't come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It will be a top-up, but a little bit on that later as well. And you're gonna get their 540 camera, which is what they call for the camera that you can see around the car as well as underneath the car after you drive over it, and the camera has recorded that information. Now for this is a very clean setup. I actually really like this. Right here, you can slot your phone for your passenger, or you can just hold it like this. 2 cup holders, though they are not the biggest size, they couldn't fit my Stanley. And then a nicely cut out wireless charging pad right here. What you see here is the Aion companion app. So this thing can remotely lock your car, unlock your car, open and close the windows, the trunk. And if you're out and about and you forgot where your car is, you can actually check the vehicle location via the GPS inside the car. And I believe, as they told me for the first, there are no plans to start charging as of yet, but as with most things, because this probably requires a SIM card at least, it might take some time, but for now, it's still free. And then you get a little nice close away open space here, deep cubby space right here, so you can hide a bunch of your other things as well. And ventilated seats for the driver. So unfortunately not for the passenger, but the passenger seats are also electric. Memory seats for the driver, memory ventilated seats. The mirror up here, it is an auto dimming rear view mirror. However, in the base trim, it will be a manual switching one. Within the cabin, you're still going to get a branded sound system. It is called Bon Jovi Acoustic Lab. So you see some of these around, and you can control some of the settings within the screen. Now, does this car drive as well as it looks? One way to find out. So, driving the Aion Y Plus Premium, what does it feel like? Well, it feels very comfortable. It feels easy to drive. It doesn't feel like kind of like when you step into a Tesla. Things are super foreign, things are out of the place. Things are very familiar. You get a regular steering wheel. You get a digital cluster, which is a tiny little screen. This takes a little bit of getting used to because it's kind of a very Chinese brand kind of display of the information where they forgo the entire dials. Well, you can switch back to a dial, a little circle, but not exactly the dials. But otherwise, I like the display where you can see the lanes inside this. So kind of like the Tesla kind of display of information. I can see a motorcycle, I can see the cars on the screen. And another little fun fact that this one rarely comes up in other cars is that I can also see a little display of 15 meters, 16 meters right now, telling me that that's how far the car in front is. I do believe it's a little bit off. Like currently, I don't think that's 20 meters, but it says 20 meters. But I kind of don't really mind that because it still gives me like an estimate of how far away. The closer you get, the number gets smaller. I don't think the number is super accurate, but it still gives me a good gauge of how far away. So I think this is really useful in things like if you're, let's say you're in the causeway going to Malaysia, you wanna go as close as possible, then this is something that's really useful and it's on all the time. It's not like your parking proximity sensors where sometimes it's only on when you're at low speeds within car parks. Now the rest of the drive is very pleasant. There is a little bit of whir from the electric motors, but I think it's okay. It's just something that you might notice, because especially for us, when we're recording while driving, you know, the fan speed is on low, we're not playing any music, so that's when it kind of creeps in a little. So you do notice that, but I think it's pretty okay. Now, in terms of noise, vibration handling, things are very smooth. It's very EV-like, right? You have your battery down below, so things are well weighted, and then you get a nice little bounce, so it doesn't throw you all over the place, and I kind of like that. For a car that in its price range, in its segment, it does pretty well in that regard. In terms of safety, this thing is kitted out the it has everything. It has lane keeping assist, front collision avoidance, automatic emergency braking, smart cruise control, so it is pretty well kitted. You can't really fault it for it, especially for its price. Now, what you need to take note is that it is a pretty unconventional way of turning on the cruise control. Typically, you have your settings right here. You can control how far away and what's the speed that you want. But this one is just like something that I personally don't like. When you want to go to active cruise control, you toggle your gear shift down twice. Is that the Tesla way? No, that I can't particularly remember, but it just gets me because that's also your gear shift. I don't want to go into a different gear, you know. So that, and your parking is right here, reverse is up. Of course, there are safety systems in place. So if you do accidentally shift into reverse, it definitely won't, you know, flip backwards. But I just kind of prefer to have my active cruise control probably here instead. And then if you want to turn it off, you step on the brake, because if you shift down again, I think it controls your lane keeping assist, but not your turning off your active cruise control. Now, in terms of power, this thing comes in at 100 kilowatts, which is somewhere in the whereabouts of 130 brake horsepower. It has 225 Newton meters of torque, which is plenty. It is an EV Cat A still, but you still get that plenty of torque that really assists you in city driving. So that is really pleasant, because typically, when we think of cars that are more affordable, they are the lower end of the range, of course you have to forego some things, but that's not the case with this Aion Y Plus Premium. Now, for some context, back then when I bought my Honda Jazz GK Series 1.3 CVT, that was 74,000, and the only other cars that you could get around that price, go up a little bit, it's a Mazda 2, go down a little bit, it was back then the Perodua, I believe. So you don't really get, it was somewhere like 70, 80 brake horsepower in the Honda Jazz. 0 to 100 was 13 plus seconds. So that's not the case with this, because this right now is undercutting everybody else. But still, you are getting a sub 10 Century Sprint in a Cat A model. So they are pretty generous in that regard. I think some of the other ways that they save costs, or why they can make this so affordable, is they kind of went the Tesla route, where everything, well, not everything, but a lot of things are kept to a minimum. You can still get buttons, but certain things are switched over to the digital display. So things like your fan control, things like your car settings, which controls your driving mode. You don't get buttons here. Here, it's a very clean layout, which normally I would kind of penalize the car for. I want my buttons for my fan controls. I want my buttons for my drive mode, which it's kind of the case here, but still the upside is that the things here are very clean, and I like this. This layout is really very useful, especially this right here, the little cutout for your smartphone that's also your wireless charger. The downside is that if, you know, when the phones keep getting upsized, will it be able to fit? It does fit my Z Fold 5 with a pretty thick cover, but what if you have something like the S24 Ultra? Well, it fits. It is just around the edges, and this is without a case, so probably don't want to upsize from there. Now, the rest of the car, again, everything is pretty much inside here. And what else is inside here is also the virtual assistant, which goes by a pretty interesting name. Typically, you'd say, hey BMW or hey Toyota, but this one, if you just say, hey Aion, it doesn't really do anything. Instead, you have to say, hello baby.
I'm listening.
Can you turn off the aircon?
Okay, turn off the air conditioning.
So It's a pretty interesting thing. I think it's a very Chinese brand where they, you know how when you buy Chinese products, sometimes they have all these motivational messages, something like a...
You seem to be silent. How can I help you? Sorry, I didn't hear you clearly. Please say that again.
Enough, shut up. Something like a...
Okay, temperature is all right.
Something like a make the world a better place. So I kind of feel like that's what they're going for, and that's why it's a hello baby.
I'm listening.
Nothing. Now, one downside is that unfortunately, this car doesn't come with wired or wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is a little bit of a top-up though. They do recognize that, which is great because I have had cars before that just no Android Auto, no wireless. No Android Auto, no CarPlay. That's it, wired or wireless. So they do at least give you the option of having a little dongle that you plug into the bottom of the car. It'd be nicer if it was one piece, but at least they still give you that option. So you can have wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay to go along with the wireless charger. And I believe it is an add-on, but I'm sure if you ask nicely enough, they might probably toss it in for free. Now, this thing comes in with some 430 kilometers of WLTP combined range. According to them, if you're going for city driving alone, which you know there's a lot of start-stop and that's where EVs really shine, then it actually goes up to some 536 kilometers, which is plenty. And in actual use, it actually does give me plenty of range and, more importantly, confidence to be driving around without that range anxiety, because there are certain EVs I feel like, especially when they're conversions from ICE cars, sometimes they don't have the most efficient energy recovery, so paper versus actual use might differ a little bit. This one I've been driving around for a few days. I'm currently on 50%, and of course I've been driving from east to west, city and highway. 50%, I'm still seeing 216 kilometers. So I feel like this is really a very practical number, and it's not too far off from the paper number. So this one, they've done well. Another thing I like is that they have that, I've seen this in another Chinese EV where your safety system, since they have cameras all around, right? In the base model, you get 360 cameras. This one, they call it 540 because in addition to the 360, you can also see underneath it and around you. All in all, it's also a very useful, comfortable car. It doesn't inspire me to drive like a madman because of its tall nature, but it is very practical, very family friendly, and I really like that about this car. With that being said, is this car will buy, won't buy, or go try? If you ask me, I think that this car, it has to be a will buy. Why? This car it's not the most refined. I think there are certain things that they could improve on, certain things that they really need. I feel like some things need to be worded better, especially if you're going for an international market, or if you're going for Singapore where the market is predominantly English, right? There are a certain few things within the UI UX menus that need to be brushed up on. But the problem with this car is that it is what we call spoil market. This car comes in at some 140,000 and it is just about undercutting everybody else. And I feel like this makes a lot of sense if you are a new brand wanting to break into the market. But it's just, when we've been doing car reviews for the past few months, whenever we're coming to the conclusion to will buy, won't buy, then when we're looking at prices and competitors, it's kind of hard because everyone else is going for 170, 160, and this thing is going for 140,000. And back then, when EVs weren't so new, or rather when there weren't so many EVs, at your bottom of the barrel, it was your subcompact hatches. And while they were the lowest of the price band, they were also the lowest of the offering. But this is definitely not the case. You get full ADAS here, you get EV, and back then when EVs came out, right, you were even higher because you had to pay a premium for an EV. So this time, the EVs are even undercutting the petrol ICE subcompact hatches. The only thing that can realistically go price for dollar with this I believe is the newly launched Suzuki Swift. And this is not that size. This is a family practical MPV, a huge 5-seater MPV that lets you literally walk through the rear. So that's like, first of all, it's already beating everybody else on price. And I understand it's part of their strategy, right, to enter the market. But still, you're getting full ADAS, you're getting wireless charging, you're getting AI assistant that can control your navigation, control your media, and you're getting a panoramic sunroof. You're getting proximity, walk away, locking and approaching unlocking. It is one of those EVs where you don't even have a start button, you just sit down and it turns on. It knows when you're near the car and it just makes things so much better. So how am I supposed to find fault with that? And that's why this car, no question about it, this car is a will buy. So that's it for our review of the Aion Y Plus Premium. What do you think? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know down in the comments below. As well as any other car that you'd like to see us try out, any other feature about this car you want to ask, leave it in the comments and I'll read every single one of these. Now, if you've made it this far, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our future uploads. And also do follow us on TikTok. We are at Sgcarmart. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
浪费时间，那 to see the line will be fast.
Cause only got one camera. Usually cap is for
It's
for
I know
multi-cam.
like where to drag then 用听废话，快点。